There's a whole lot of hate on the left, and they're not even concealing it anymore. What JD Vance did to call them out on it, and then their reaction to it, it was insane yesterday. How dare JD Vance notice that people want he and his friends killed for their political beliefs? He should know better. And I do mean hate, by the way, palpable hate. I mean, just look at Joy Reid, whose media career has been reduced to a Substack and a YouTube channel, which, listen, nothing wrong with a Substack and YouTube channel, but she used to make millions on cable news. Now she's talking to that guy, Don Lemon. And when the subject of JD Vance came out, well, Joy Reid said the quiet part out loud.
I can't stand JD Vance. Let's just be clear. There's nothing he could do. He could literally rescue my cat out of a burning building, and I would still hate JD Vance.
There you go. She hates JD Vance. Again, up until about 7 months ago, she was a member of good standing of the mainstream media. And her show and her political beliefs were celebrated. I mean, they're celebrated here. Look at Don Lemon giggling like a little schoolgirl over Joy Reid's reaction to JD Vance. How'd she put that again?
I can't stand JD Vance. Let's just be clear. There's nothing he could do. He could literally rescue my cat out of a burning building, and I would still hate JD Vance.
Well, you won't have to worry about that scenario, because I assure you, JD Vance will not rescue your cat out of a burning building. He will stand there and watch your cat die, burned to a crisp. You're welcome. By the way, Joy Reid's career is doing so well, and Kamala Harris's book tour is going so well, that their worlds collided yesterday. That's right. On the second day of Kamala Harris's multimedia, sky-high attention-getting book tour, on day 2, she appeared on Joy Reid's YouTube show, which is weird because everybody knows that the audience for Joy Reid's YouTube channel can't read. But there you have it. So why is everyone so upset about JD Vance? Well, because he dared to notice what was happening in this country. And he said so yesterday in Concord, North Carolina.
Just yesterday, NBC News, maybe the worst of all the fake news, and I'm sure we have an NBC reporter out there. It's a tough competition, my friends, to be clear. But maybe the worst, I said maybe the worst, is NBC News. And they said that immigration enforcement, you know what they said? That immigration enforcement had detained a 5-year-old autistic girl in order to get to that girl's father. Turned out that story was a complete fabrication. It was a complete dishonest lie. But when you go around and lie about our law enforcement and you tell them that they're mistreating 5-year-old girls, what do you think is going to happen? When Democratic politicians incur doxing, when they encourage us to unmask ICE enforcement officers, what do you think is going to happen? When the mayor of Los Angeles encourages violent protesters to get in the face of our law enforcement, what do you think is going to happen? What's going to happen is political violence, and political violence has gotten out of control in this country. We got to stop it. We got to condemn it. And that starts, unfortunately, at the very top of the Democratic Party. If you want to stop political violence, stop attacking our law enforcement as the Gestapo. If you want to stop political violence, stop telling your supporters that everybody who disagrees with you is a Nazi. If you want to stop political violence, look in the mirror. That's the way that we stop political violence in this country, and we got to do it.
Yeah, they hate him because he's telling the truth. They hate him because he's actually holding up a mirror and showing them and letting them hear exactly what they're saying, and then the results of their violent rhetoric. That's why they hate him. And of course, this comes on the heels of the shooting of an ICE facility yesterday that left several dead. The war on law enforcement, federal law enforcement, continues unabated. And we played you the words of Gavin Newsom the night before the shooting on yesterday's show. Gavin Newsom told lie after lie after lie, including the lie about a disabled little girl being detained by ICE. It's a lie. That people being snatched off the street in broad daylight and disappeared. It's a lie. All of it, it's all lies. And are we surprised when somebody is motivated then to take the law into their own hands and act out violently? Vance is done with this game. We've seen too much blood in the streets because of this unmitigated, unbridled hate on the left. They get some sort of political benefit out of drumming up this kind of hatred. And it ends now, says the vice president.
Because here's what happens. Because here's what happens when Democrats like Gavin Newsom did say that these people are part of an authoritarian government. When the left-wing media lies about what they're doing, when they lie about who they're arresting, when they lie about the actual job of law enforcement, what they're doing is encouraging crazy people to go and commit violence. You don't have to agree with my immigration policies. You don't have to agree with Donald Trump's immigration policies. But if your political rhetoric encourages violence against our law enforcement, you can go straight to hell, and you have no place in the political conversation of the United States of America.
I don't know about you, but I voted for that. That is precisely what I voted for. You don't agree with me? That's fine. You use rhetoric that gets my friends and cops killed, go to hell. Can we fit that on a bumper sticker? Are you ready to vote yet in the next election? So our friends in the mainstream corporate legacy media, they see what's going on. They see violent political rhetoric encouraging a kid to pick up a gun and put a bullet in the throat of Charlie Kirk and murder him in cold blood. They see political rhetoric inspiring a dude to pick up a rifle and start shooting indiscriminately into an ICE vehicle, killing people in cold blood. And then they see the vice president of the United States calling it out. And of course, they see what the problem is. They see who the real enemy is. They finally have recognized what the problem is. Joe and Mika this morning, identifying and honing in on what needs to stop, what the real issue is here. It's J.D. Vance. He needs to stop talking.
And why? Why do they do this? Like, why is it so important for them? Instead of trying to bring the country together, why is it so important for them to try to tear us apart? Why are they doing this? Why is J.D. Vance continuing to lie when Cato, when CSIS, when every other study shows that the predominance of political violence in America has come from the right? And again, you don't hear me saying, oh, this is all the Republicans' fault. What you hear me saying is these people are crazy, and we, the 90% of the sane people in America, we need to come together.
Did you know that those studies that say that the predominance of violence in America is coming from the right do not consider the arson and looting and mayhem and, yes, manslaughter and murders that occurred during the George Floyd Black Lives Matter riots? They don't consider those politically motivated violence. Yeah. You know, when you don't count left-wing violence motivated by left-wing politics as left-wing violence motivated by left-wing politics, it's pretty easy to come up with a study that says that all the violence in this country is motivated from political rhetoric on the right. But we all saw Black Lives Matter. We saw the George Floyd riots. We know exactly what it was, and we know what it was motivated by. And they don't consider that left-wing violence. They don't consider Antifa violence left-wing violence. But yeah, we should definitely trust all of those studies and all of those reports. More on these bogus studies coming up in a minute. But that's Joe Scarborough figuring out exactly what the real problem is. J.D. Vance line. It's like you hand the gun to someone and you encourage them to murder someone. And then all the friends and family of the person who got murdered are now expected to be the ones to unify all of us and bring us together. That's Joe Scarborough. Why aren't they doing anything to bring us together? Well, forgive me for not bending over backwards to try to bring us together at this moment. We're still cleaning up the pools of blood on the ground from our friend who got murdered. We're kind of busy. Why aren't you trying to unify us? Well, you know what? You could have come down to the memorial in Arizona and prayed with all of us and had a conversation with, hey, Joe, when you say, why aren't we trying to unify us? I have a question. Who's there at your round table there that speaks for us? Who is invited to come and sit there every morning in your conversation who actually represents us and he can speak on our behalf? And by the way, since we, based on the last election in this country, represent over 50% of the electorate, maybe it shouldn't just be one person sitting at that table. Maybe half of the people sitting at that table should speak on our behalf and represent us. No, but it's incumbent on us to try to bring the country together, even though we're the ones who were the targets of your violence. It's an amazing little setup you've got there, Joe. Go ahead, finish up your thought.
And move the country beyond this and be a better example for all. I don't know.
That's leadership. What we saw from J.D. Vance is not leadership.
Actually, I think it was great leadership. I'm on board with it. And so are the majority of Americans. That's where these guys have it wrong. But they weren't the only ones. That was this morning on MSNBC. Last night on CNN, lamentably, same thing. J.D. Vance isn't helping anything by telling the truth.
Look, this is extremely disturbing that there's another one of these types of shootings. I think we've got to deal with this as a country, first of all. But I also, just for starters, I'm curious, how does it help to have the vice president say that?
Because the third one in Texas. I mean, if you know people that work in law enforcement, my family does. I know ICE agents in Texas. This is the third attack we've seen in Texas, in the same district as the man in charge today was saying. Like, this is the second time he's had to have a press conference today.
Who was killed today? Who was killed today?
So you're saying since it
That's
wasn't,
not what I'm at. No.
So you're saying since it wasn't, it was innocent people that were killed today.
Don't put words in my mouth.
You asked a question. I'm answering your question.
You're
saying since it wasn't ICE agents that were killed, therefore this is a null and void conversation?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. And that's gaslighting. I'm asking you a simple question because when J.D. Vance...
No, he's the one gaslighting. Just so you know, the victims yesterday of the indiscriminate gunshot fired into a ICE vehicle happened to be detainees who were being processed and repatriated to their country. So he's saying, hey, cops weren't killed, so what the hell are you bitching about? Cops weren't killed here. The bullets said anti-ICE slogans on them. And the guy was motivated by left-wing politics. And he's trying, what kind of smart-ass point are you trying to make here by rhetorically asking, well, who was shot today? And Ben Ferguson rightly jumps to the conclusion, what, so cops miraculously didn't get shot and that somehow makes everything okay? Or are you saying that this guy was actually motivated in trying to kill the illegal aliens and he's actually a MAGA guy? What are you saying here? And he's like, well, I'm just asking. Don't be gaslighting. Don't put words in my mouth. I'm just asking. What a fool. And by the way, let the record reflect, he interrupted Ben Ferguson to try to make this point, which is nonsense.
Up there when J.D. Vance went up there, and
this
when you're
is
coming
not
up
a good argument from you.
First of all,
innocent people got shot today, and you're like, well, it wasn't ICE agents that got shot.
Not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the division that you all are sowing in this country.
I'm not sowing anything. I'm saying protect all law enforcement.
Because of the simple fact, yes.
Gavin Newsom went on TV last night. Did you see what he said? He said, first of all, ICE agents are authoritarian. You don't think that can inspire someone to do that?
ICE agents should be able to come home every single night. And so don't put words in my mouth. I am acting like it. First and second, the fact that you and J.D. Vance and every other Republican can go on here and talk about...
We're not shooting people. But we're not shooting people. The left is shooting people and they're being inspired by that.
That is the low...
I'm sorry. I have a friend that got shot and assassinated 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I'm a little bit hot on this one because you guys have been irresponsible with the rhetoric that is coming out from people on the left. Gavin Newsom went on TV last night. Gavin Newsom went on TV last night and disparaged ICE agents, attacked ICE agents, said they're authoritarian.
But before you even get to the
evidence, the evidence? Watch what he said last night on late night television.
I'm not talking about that, Ben, because you come on here and you gaslight. And
I'm not gaslighting. I don't want innocent people to die.
Let me finish my sentence, please. You come on here and you gaslight and you put words in my mouth. And that's not what I said.
You interrupted me and said you got
Can you just let him finish? Ben, in the
because
interest,
the question
hold on,
is,
Ben, in the interest of finishing this conversation,
what I want you to do is not only lift up those...
Sorry, can't let it go. Abby Phillip, please, Ben, let the man who interrupted you with his nonsense finish what he was saying. Did he interrupted Ferguson? This show is such a freaking dumpster fire. Abby Phillips is embarrassing. Go ahead. Yeah, let's let him finish.
Light and you put words in my mouth. And that's not what I said.
You interrupted
Can
me and
you-
said you
Ben,
got
can you
shot.
just let him?
Can you?
Ben, in the
Because
interest,
the question
hold on, Ben,
is,
in the interest
because
of
the question
finishing this
is, and
conversation,
what I want you to
let him
do is
speak.
not only lift up those ICE agents. What I'm trying to get you to do is also lift up those people who were killed. Because when you do not lift up those people who were killed, as well as those law enforcement officers, you sow division in this country.
Okay.
And that's what I'm
Let me say this.
Here's where I agree
Abby,
with
let me
Ben.
say this. Look
Hold
at
on,
the
Ben.
bullets that are on the ground.
Here's where I agree. Here's where I agree with Ben.
Hit a pause on that and let other.
Here's where I agree with Ben. All right. When the goal clearly was to hurt ICE agents,
The
it
bullet
matters.
said it.
And I think that applies not just to ICE, but to law enforcement across the country. We should be angrier when law enforcement are targeted in this country.
Thank you.
Period. Now, that is a separate issue from linking rhetoric to saying that's why this has happened. They're doing this.
It was written on
It's
the
a-
bullets.
I understand that, but that doesn't mean
You don't have to connect dots here.
Of course
he
you
wrote
do.
it down so he didn't have to
No,
connect dots.
I know his motives. I'm not questioning his
So
motives.
then the motive was anti-ICE
Correct.
rhetoric.
Well, did it say rhetoric on the? Because I thought
It
was
said
anti-ICE.
anti-ICE. And when you have people out there literally
So-
8 hours earlier
Right. So, but here's what
attacking
I'm
ICE
not doing.
agents.
I'm not going to hold
Let's-
people accountable
hold
for
on one
everything
second.
someone
Yeah,
else says and say, oh, well, this guy must have done it because
Third time.
this guy said it over there. Again, there's a way too much attacks on law enforcement in this country.
Coming from who, though, Dan?
Coming from a whole range.
Show
of
me a
people.
Republican elected official that has attacked ICE or law
Well, I'll
enforcement
give
for
you
doing their
well,
job.
How about the Capitol Police?
I said, give me a
You said a Republican who's
I said of ICE
law
agents
enforcement.
right now. You're
You
going
said
back
or law
you're
enforcement. No, you said or law
on
enforcement.
ICE agents.
Yeah, no, ICE agents.
Attacking
are-
ICE.
Let me,
Do you
hold
really
on.
January 6th. They just can't quit January 6th. The Ben Ferguson's great performance last night on CNN continued here. So let's keep watching.
Every time one of these tragic shootings happens, everybody's at each other's throats about which side did it, but we're missing a broader pattern in America. This was another young white dude who's in his 20s. We have seen this pattern accelerating over the past decade. The same day Charlie Kirk was shot, the same exact time, there was a neo-Nazi who shot up a school in Colorado. We can look at the acceleration of the radicalization of young men through a few frameworks. There's the COVID pandemic, which had people isolated, had a bubble around themselves, and a lot of young men failed to pull that bubble down and got sucked down these algorithms. I've seen it happen to my close friends. They get sucked down these algorithms. We have foreign actors trying to sow chaos in America, sow division. How much does Putin salivate when he sees us at each other's throats? Then we have domestic actors, people like Elon Musk riling it up. So all of these factors, wait, hold up, Ben. All of these factors come together to create this pattern that we see of young men in my age range committing these shootings. And if you want to sit here and go back and forth, tit for tat, I can say Dylan Roof, Robert Bowers, John Earnest, none of these were black people. None of these were trans people. None of these were even Democrats. These were neo-Nazis who had things carved into their guns. You can sit here and muddy the waters, but you are just lying.
I just don't want innocent people to die. Sue me for that. I
Then
am
maybe
saying,
tell Trump to tone down his rhetoric.
If you think
there
this
it
is
is. That's
Trump,
what I'm
this is
talking
exact.
about.
You
I'm
literally
sorry,
just
but
went
the
through an
political-
entire argument. So Abby, let
But
me go back to
can I make something that might be a little bit more controversial than that?
Hold on a second.
Sure, go ahead.
This is the part that should not be this
He
hard.
says he hates his enemies.
Hold on, Adam.
Who says he hates
This
his
is the
enemies?
part
Hold
that
on,
should
Adam. Go
not be
ahead.
this hard for people to understand. After the assassination of my friend Charlie Kirk, I would hope, and after multiple attacks on ICE facilities, I would hope that leaders of the Democratic Party, and one of those leaders is Gavin Newsom, would know better than to go on TV and to say that ICE agents are the bad guys and that they're authoritarian, and then expect that no one's going to listen to what he's saying or respond to it.
Okay.
There
All
should
right,
be more
let me
accountability
just ask
for
you a
that.
question about that, okay? Because I think at the heart of so much of this is your insistence that using certain words leads to violence. Is that what you're saying?
Calling people fascists
Okay.
and Nazis
All right.
and authoritarian, yeah.
So when
they
Rand,
write it on their
okay, so
bullets, yes.
when Rand Paul,
That's right. When the exact same slogans that people are calling you and me and Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump and JD Vance and Ben Ferguson are then written on the bullets that were used to murder Charlie Kirk, yeah, maybe it's okay to draw that conclusion. And I know everybody likes to point to a school shooting that happened in Colorado on the same day. There's no evidence, by the way, linking his motives, which, yeah, school shootings are awful. There's a whole lot involved in school shootings, but there's no evidence linking violent political rhetoric or political ideology to those murders in Colorado, but they throw that out there as if there is. But let's just look at the last couple of weeks. We had a Catholic school in Minnesota shot up, 2 dead, 21 injured. by a person who was motivated by transgender ideology. And yes, he wrote political slogans against Donald Trump and against Christians on his guns and on his ammo. They assassinated Charlie Kirk, and they immediately blamed MAGA for assassinating Charlie Kirk. They celebrated Charlie Kirk's murder. Everybody wants to point out and say, oh, yeah, there's a problem on both sides. One side celebrates the assassinations when the violence happens. They defended the celebrations. They joked about the celebrations. While at the same time, a local television station got shot up for not airing Jimmy Kimmel's show. A Fox News van found an explosive underneath it the day covering Charlie Kirk's murder. A wedding was shot up the next day by a shooter shouting "Free Palestine." And then ICE agents yesterday got targeted. But it's a problem on both sides. And in that litany that they just tried to throw out there, they had to throw Dylan Roof. That was 10 years ago. And by the way, we'll talk about Dylan Roof later in the show, but there's actually no evidence to show that he was motivated by any political entity. He was motivated by his own racism. And our reaction to Dylan Roof, those of us on the right, was quite different than what we've seen in the last 2 weeks about Charlie Kirk. Sorry for pointing out facts here to put these things in context, but this guy from Midas Touch TV, which is a left-wing outlet, he's going to have his moment with Ben.
What I didn't like about what I saw from Jimmy Kimmel last night is the fact that he has more passion for this issue than he did for showing compassion for Charlie Kirk's widow and the Kirk family. And then he says it was just a joke. I think it's sad that there was this much rallying around him emotionally as he got last night and still refuses to show any compassion to the Kirk family. Let me just
what he said before, though. But 2 days before that, he denounced the people who are celebrating. He went after them on his show.
But
so
he lied on his show.
he got it wrong, no doubt about it.
No, he lied on his show.
But he also talked
and we
about,
knew what
but
was.
last
what
night,
we, hold on, wait,
I mean,
wait,
did you
listen.
see? But did you see the part of the reason I'm interrupting you is because did you see the part of the monologue where he talked about Erica Kirk? He choked up when he was talking about her
Sometimes
speech
in
at
life,
the
you just
memorial
say,
service.
I'm sorry.
I understand what you're saying, but
It's not
I think to
hard.
suggest that he was cold.
He was cold
to the Kirk
because
family. I don't think is
it wasn't
accurate.
warm. This is the delusion of this conversation. He literally said that he was killed by somebody that was in MAGA. That was a lie. We knew that wasn't true. And he refused to apologize.
Let me ask you
All
a
real
question.
men,
So
real
did-
men
all right.
with integrity
So,
walk
fine,
out
fair
there
enough.
and say,
I'm sorry.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
So has Don Jr. and Elon Musk and Senator Mike Lee apologized for saying that the Minnesota shooter was on the left?
I don't know if they have or not.
Okay, they haven't.
They have
Okay.
not.
So my
in
point
that
is,
case,
it's the exact same
I'm okay
thing.
with that. But Jimmy Kimmel,
You're
I
okay
think
with
you can agree, this was a bigger issue at the moment.
That's it got more attention.
A lot more. He was
This
crying
was a-
on
but
set.
this was also a
He's
political.
crying on set,
Minnesota's
not
relevant.
crying for Charlie Kirk
But not
or
only
his
Minnesota,
wife.
but not
crying
only,
because
but not
woe
only,
is me
this
in my career.
This is why
That is correct. That's the only reason. And we covered that yesterday. Although Charlie Kirk's appearance is getting quite a bit of attention later in the day after our show, like CNN's reaction. And by the way, the aforementioned JD Vance, who I think pretty succinctly explained why many of us are not satisfied with Mr. Kimmel's performance and his pretend act of contrition, even though he never actually said he was contrite. And yet somehow people in the media are giving him credit. You even see people saying that he apologized when, of course, definitively he did not apologize. Vice President Vance explains it.
He didn't actually say sorry to Charlie Kirk or his family. And the reason that so many people, including me, were so upset with what Jimmy Kimmel said is that he accused Charlie Kirk's murderer of being a MAGA or a right-wing American. It wasn't a joke. It was straight up disinformation. And I really wish Jimmy Kimmel had apologized for it.
Yeah, exactly. And so here's the thing. And we're just in the interest of bringing our country together and sort of getting over the divide, we'd like to help Jimmy Kimmel out here. Apparently, instead of just making fun of him and mocking him and calling him on his bullshit like we did yesterday, apparently it could actually move this country forward in a more hospitable and constructive conversation if Jimmy Kimmel actually stepped up and delivered a message that would be open and welcome from those of us who feel angry and hurt by what he's done. See, here's the thing. We all get it wrong sometimes, right? I mean, I remember when the whole Paul Pelosi story was coming out and there was a fog of war and lots of weird information. We had a local NBC reporter, who was covering the story, who said that the police described a very different scene than the security camera or body cameras from the cops were going to show. Remember that? Remember how we were getting all these different misinformation stories about this? And they immediately said, by the way, that this was a politically motivated act against Paul Pelosi, which it was not. The guy was a Looney Tunes homeless dude who had BLM posters on his building, and God knows why he entered Paul Pelosi's house. But a lot of people extended themselves, went out there, suggested that it was one thing when it turns out it might not have been those things, and they got it wrong. See? And it's funny, when you go back to that moment in time, there were a lot of people on the left and in the media who believed conservative commentators and elected officials should have just come out and said, listen, this whole Paul Pelosi thing, we thought it was one thing. Turns out it might not have been that thing. We were getting a lot of misinformation. We got it wrong. And we're sorry about that. And Jimmy Kimmel now should probably do something like that. In fact, hang on. Hey, Jimmy, are you watching? Jimmy Kimmel, anybody in Jimmy Kimmel's production team, writers or anything? I know it's early on the West Coast, but you're up now. It's not like you're up late partying or celebrating anything these days out there. Listen, we want to help you out. We've got some advice about how to properly acknowledge you got something wrong and just sincerely apologize, okay? We're going to give you that advice, not from me, but from an expert, someone that maybe you'll listen to and respect. This guy,
82-year-old man, has been attacked in his bed in his home by a person who obviously has some problems, and our first reaction isn't, oh my goodness, even if they're lying, even if they're pretending to have concern, how can the reaction possibly be? How can we move so quickly to smearing these people, to trying to create some? And by the way, now that the police report is out, I haven't exactly seen Elon Musk or Donald Trump or Donnie Jr. correcting them and saying, oh my goodness, now that we read the facts of the story, certainly we feel terrible that we spread these vicious lies around, and we retract them and apologize to the Pelosi family. No, you'll never see that. When an apology isn't even offered, listen, these people are supposed to be Christians. I am a Catholic. I grew up in the church. What I was taught was that if you do something wrong, you ask for forgiveness and you are forgiven for these things. The idea that it would be anything other than that these people who are allegedly following the teachings of Jesus would behave in this way, it doesn't it doesn't make any sense at all. And I just can't understand how that works for so many people, so many Americans.
Yeah, I agree. Well said, sir. It's Jimmy Kimmel 2022. What's the difference? Is there one? There you go, Jimmy, team on Kimmel's writer staff. Do you get it now? Follow that guy's advice. That's what you do. It's all it takes. Try not to be quite as smug and sanctimonious as that guy was, but you can still get it done. I believe in you. After all, he's Christian. Do you ever notice how many Christians on the left politically in this country don't really talk about Jesus much, except when they invoke his name to try to publicly shame conservatives for not living up to their belief of what a Christian standard is? Otherwise, not a whole lot of talk about Jesus or scripture or our faith or Christian values. But boy, the second they think they've got you and that you haven't lived up to what they believe your Christian values are, boom, just got nothing but Jesus talk from them. Funny how that works.